as we just heard, sustainability is not a trend. We have to mainstream in conservation. Sustainability, it's been used as a buzzword, but in reality, we need to change the narrative and evolve. It's not a trend anymore. It's the path to resilience, is the key to building destinations that are future-ready, that are rooted in ecological health and cultural vitality. And it's an ongoing process. We need to co-create with the communities and involve them as much as we can from the beginning. And there's a lot that we need to talk about, so I think we just dive right in. And let's start with Emilio. Emilio, with Marae, we're knowing that it's setting new benchmarks for integrated, purpose-driven developments. So what are the biggest opportunities and challenges in using regenerative tourism as a vehicle for economic and social transformation in the region, most importantly?
Thank you very much. Si me permiten, eu vou me dirigir aquí a audiencia en portugués, portuñol, con mi sotaque español, então acho que vai dar mellor para todos vocês comprenderem. Tamén como unha forma de homenagear o retorno do SAHIC, depois de 18, 19 anos aquí no Brasil, e conmemorando tamén ese vibe, ese ambiente e esa performance do sector turístico que estamos todos nós, que facemos parte da industria aquí do Brasil, super empolgados con a realidade e as expectativas de un turismo que continúa crecendo, que está mostrando dados históricos en relación aos turistas internacionais, gasto por turista e movimentación do turismo nacional. Entón, en resposta a esa pergunta de como a xente ven traballando o que se fala hoxe de turismo regenerativo ao longo deses últimos anos, que é unha evolución do turismo sustentável, nós temos un proxecto de large scale, de moita dimensão, ambicioso. Estamos nunha área de 840 hectares, 8,5 km de praia. Aquí, no municipio de Maricá, 45 km. Então, as propias características do empreendimento son enormes e a gente está traballando há máis de 15 anos nun proxecto transformador, un proxecto que a gente sempre ven falando e temos moitos estudos. O Brasil ten principalmente cinco gargalos e acreditamos que o noso proxecto ten o impacto de transformar, de catalizar e de ajudar na corrección deses cinco gargalos. O primeiro é a visibilidade internacional, esa imagen tamén do Brasil fora no exterior. O noso proxecto ten 3 hotéis junto a Marriott, ten unha universidade junto á Universidade de Lausanne e, por tanto, ten ese impacto, esa visibilidade internacional nun entorno seguro. O segundo gargalo é a falta, a carencia no Brasil de produtos high-end, 5 estrelas, geridos por operadores internacionais. Apenas 15% do total dos hotéis do país están gerenciados por operadores internacionais. No noso caso, a gente asinou un acordo con Marriott International, a maior operadora do mundo, e 3 hotéis que son un Ritz-Carlton Reserve, un JW Marriott e un Autograph Collection. O terceiro gargalo, atrelado a ese anterior, é a falta de conectividade aérea e de tour operadores. O Brasil precisa máis malla aérea internacional e máis tour operadores, que con esa proposta de beachfront resorts, all inclusive, 5 estrelas gerenciados por operadores globais, vamos a acrescentar e aprimorar a presenza desas aerolíneas e desos tour operadores. O cuarto gargalo é a formación. Non ten máis turismo ou mellor turismo, ou máis inclusivo, se non ten máis capacitación, máis treinamento. A gente ven traballando moitos anos já con a Universidade de Lausanne para a primeira Certified University by IHL nas Américas, mas junto, e probablemente seja un dos motivos de máis orgullo do noso proxecto, além desta universidade dentro do Marae, junto á Universidade de Lausanne, o no turismo, con o apoio do Ministerio do Turismo, estamos traballando tamén con o SENAC, o Centro Nacional de Aprendizaje Profesional do Brasil. Queremos implementar cursos de capacitación profesional de 6, 12, 18 meses para atingirmos máis de 150.000 persoas ao longo dos próximos anos. E o quinto gargalo, que é a estruturación de capital. Falta profundidade, maturidade no mercado de capitais, dívida e equity. Por tanto, ese proxecto, e já encerrando, é un proxecto transformador que a 15 anos primeiro meu pai, que está aquí, convido já, aproveito para convidar a todos vocês na fala que ele vai participar na entrevista con o Arturo hoxe à tarde, con o noso director executivo, David, que é o licenciado en Ciencias Ambientais. A xente concibiu un proxecto con 3 pilares: respeito ambiental, regeneración ambiental, e deixo aquí un hint, un pequeno dado. O noso proxecto vai trazer máis de 120 hectares de vegetación autóctona. Da situación hoxe, vamos regenerar máis de 20% da área de vegetación autóctona. Responsabilidade social, falaba na anterior palestra de inclusão, de valorização da cultura das comunidades locais. Por exemplo, a gente tem uma comunidade de 200 famílias de pescadores que se chama de Zacarias, que a gente está entregando os títulos de propriedade, estamos valorizando a súa cultura e impacto económico. Brasil, toda a região, e vou fazer aqui um quote da ONU Turismo: People, Planet and Prosperity. Ou a região, como fala Gustavo Santos, diretor das Américas da ONU Turismo, ou a região de Latam, Brasil, Sudamérica, potencia o turismo como futuro motor de desenvolvimento económico sustentável e, através do turismo e educação, o nosso futuro. E eu quero frisar aqui o Brasil. O Brasil, eu tenho total certeza que vai passar de 7% para 15% do PIB com turismo, vai passar de 6 milhões, quase 7 milhões de turistas internacionais por ano para 15 milhões, e tenho total certeza que daqui a 10 anos o turismo vai empregar 2 milhões de pessoas, vai empregar ao redor de 4 ou 5 milhões de pessoas.
Beautiful. I think it's a great example of how large-scale projects can start the change and can be agents of positive change and impact to our communities. So let's go talk a little bit about the immersive impact in luxury and remote destinations, Luca, because you've been a pioneer in this landscape. And we know that there's a huge demand for immersive, nature-integrated experiences. So how does Luxury Frontiers redefine experiential hospitality to bridge the gap between luxury, sustainability, and more so regeneration?
Thank you. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Arturo, as well, and SAHIC and Floriana for having me here. It's pretty amazing to be here. And you said pioneer. Yeah, we were a pioneer 10, 12 years ago, and everybody was laughing at me because they said, oh, those concepts, African concepts, light structures, tents, whatever, won't work here in Americas. And good luck with that. So everybody told me that. And well, only few that believe in me. But if you follow your passion and you're persistent, things can happen. So our projects are very, very different scale from what you're doing. We are very into niche, boutique, high yield, low impact, high touches type of business model. I believe in that, where we can have a strong impact in our community, with the environment, with the guest, if we create an intimate, immersive, nature immersive experience. And sustainability, it has been a buzzword for many years, and almost like greenwashing. Hopefully with COVID ended, and it's not possible to sustain something that is declining. And so in order to do that, we need to revert the wild. I believe, I love that the word the wild is not only with the environment and bringing the place in a better place when we came over, but rewilding means also for human rewilding is go back to original habitats, original way to live and appreciate local cultures, local the spirit of a place, and local heritage, local traditions, and so it's really important to work with the community in that specific, embrace them, empower them. It's not about, and I don't believe in giving back a concept, because giving back means you steal before and then you feel guilty to give back.
Correct.
It's really about empowering empower, embrace, enrich the local culture, the local community, and make them part of the project from day one, from learning how to build a building or go through the local materials, the local products, and working with the community from planning, construction, and operation, and everything that will be produced for the guest experience, from food, beverage, wellness, has to be sourced locally within a specific small radius catchment. And that is a way to sustain ongoing, not just in the beginning, but on ongoing basis of the community. I give you an example. In Naviva, we completed with Marco a couple of years ago a project, Naviva by Four Seasons in Mexico on Riviera Nayarit. And the whole idea was about, nature viva nature, and sustainability contextual, and everything sourced locally within the community, from the materials, from building methodologies. The tents were produced in Guadalajara, but also for the furniture, and everything is designed and then crafted locally, to the point that everything is for sale. And so in 5 years, 10 years time, when the guest wants to purchase the chair, the local craftsmanship can go and do it. And so it's a way to sustain the economy, local economy, on long term. And there are many other samples, but
that's beautiful, because it really creates the example of how you can uplift communities by also educating, right? Educating through the guest journey, educating the community. And I love what you're doing, and I'm a big fan. And Marco, let's go to the land. Let's zoom out and let's go to the land, because we start with the land first. Obviously, all stakeholders needs to be aligned with these regenerative practices. But how does EDSA approach master planning and landscape architecture to create this co-evolving and ecosystems that not only regenerate nature and communities, but also result in authentic placemaking?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much. I don't know, es portuñol, español, bom dia a todos. Yo no falo portuñol. Español más o menos.
Spanglish.
Entonces, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with such an incredible group of people, talented and entrepreneurs. I think EDSA is one of the differentiator of companies, because we do things differently. We study the topography, the vegetation very carefully. So when you go to a project, the most important thing is to understand the land. Not only the land, but also the culture of the region and the place. Because a lot of people actually, what they do is they copy and things that they've done in different locations. What we do are a very careful analysis of the terrain by using new technology. We have a system called LiDAR that everybody knows today. I mean, before we used to just get a simple topography plan, and then we wanted to create a project, and then the owner wants to have a lot of units and make it like 20,000 rooms. And then what happens is that we say, well, wait a minute, we need to really understand the land. So what we do now, over the last 15 years, using new technology like LiDAR, we have a very detailed analysis of the terrain, the topography, the vegetation, the nature of the site. In addition to that, we really study the culture of the site, the region, the place, the people who lived there before, even the indigenous people and animals that were there before. So in order to do a holistic master plan, we studied that very carefully. And then we put it on 3D models, the terrain before we go to the site. And then we spend 2 or 3 weeks in our office understanding what happens in that place before, what's going to happen in the future, what's happening around the area. So how do we create a project that is sustainable is by really understanding the local culture. We never copy a project that I lived in France for 3 years. I did projects in Japan and China and other places. But when we come to Brazil, there's so many amazing sites and regions here in Brazil that are spectacular. So how do we take advantage of that land, that topography, that vegetation, that culture, to make a unique project that is from the ground up, from the nature up. We're doing a project here, it's called Baizio, which we did about 6 years ago, and it's 6,000 hectares, 12 kilometers of ocean frontage. And to study that site like that, you need at least a week to walk it and horseback riding and going up and down the hill. So by asking the owner, who was very nice and kind, to actually pay for doing a very, very thorough, detailed LiDAR analysis, we found that that site has like most of the ecosystems in the region in Brazil. So you have these incredible high dunes that are white sand, others are orange sand. We have a natural forest. There was a site that was never been disturbed before, is a primary forest. So what we did is we created a master plan that is very holistic, because we only use we kept 90% of the natural terrain and vegetation of the project, and then we worked with the local culture, the local materials, to be able to create a master plan that is very unique and different.
Amazing. And creating sense of place is also one of those regenerative practices that is really important. Understanding the heritage of the place so that we can preserve and making it better, and the narrative will be enriched for our guest experience, right?
Yeah, so that's a really good example. I mean, we've done a number of projects. One is called Maya Covay in the Riviera Maya, where we not only study the terrain and the topography, but we study the local culture. And by studying the local culture to create a sense of place,
exactly,
we look at the Mayan culture, but not at the Mayan culture of how they do the pyramids and the hieroglyphs and all that. We study the Mayas, how they live their land. So in this particular place, the Mayas used to put their settlements behind the dunes and the mangroves in order to protect themselves from the hurricanes and the winds. So we had a very large mangrove fringe in front of the project that we were able to maintain naturally, instead of, at the time, 20 years ago, people were trying to kill the mangrove to fill the land and do development. What we said is, no, we're going to change it, and working with the owners, which is sometimes complicated because they don't want to do that. They want to be able to build more land, more projects. So what we did is we did, for the first time in many, many years, is to put the hotel behind the mangrove and create these waterways, because the Mayas used to have these underwater rivers that come in the terrain, that we study that because of the hydrology, created the underwater rivers that allows you to create these waterways to go on an electrical boat to your hotel rooms, then we put overwater suites. And that's kind of the beginning of the sense of place, with Luca working with Aviva. We studied more the monarch butterflies flying through the terrain. When we went to the site, we saw them, and we said, well, why don't we work together? And that's a very holistic concept, not only from the master planning, but from architecture. In Luca's point of view, is how do we create a project that is sustainable by maintaining natural resources and doing a project that architecturally and planning-wise seems like it's a settlement by the locals, or the monarch butterflies that actually lay down on the terrain.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's go to the challenges, because I think it's really important to inspire the audience here. And I'll go to you, Emilio, because we've talked about the lack of structured capital markets. So how can we attract investment for these projects, and what innovative financial models could help scale projects like Marai?
We have some, desculpa, volto no português. Nós temos algúns mercados bastante maduros aqui na região, México, República Dominicana, que temos os FIABRA, temos os bancos de desenvolvimento apoiando o sector turístico con un compromiso estratégico dos poderes públicos e dos actores privados, e nós temos outros países, e incluyo o Brasil, com enorme potencial, mas que precisam estruturas de capital máis, como eu falaba, máis maduras, máis aprofundadas. Brasil é um gigante, é um mercado de máis de 215 milhões de pessoas, é um mercado com um desenvolvimento económico forte em termos de agronegócio, de indústria, de serviços, mas o turismo deve estar no olhar estratégico, como eu falava, público-privado, como futuro desenvolvimento económico do país. Mas eu sou muito optimista em relação a futuro. Já falei que hoje temos um presente puxante, mas temos os próximos anos un desenvolvemento que será sin dúbida expresivo. E do punto de vista de capital, fico feliz, por exemplo, que a xente ven traballando já bastante tempo, mas aquí no SAHIC estamos con importantes conversas con IDB Invest, con CAF, con IFC, que son bancos multilaterais. Eu gostaría moito de ter conversado e todos nós ter tido a oportunidade de falar tamén con BNDES, que ficou comprometido con o turismo para World Cup, para as Olimpiadas, depois foi embora, mas tomara que daqui a pouco o BNDES tamén esteja dentro dese compromiso dos bancos multilaterais. Eu sou moito optimista tamén porque veio un mercado de FIIs, de fondos de investimento inmobiliario, que son os REITs, os FIABRA do México, Estados Unidos, Europa, que está mostrando un crecimiento expresivísimo. Por exemplo, neses últimos 7-8 anos pasaron de 50.000 investidores para máis de 2 millóns de investidores, e os hotéis, Hospitality Investment, está se tornando un preferred assets aos poucos. E por último, eu acho que o capital cualificado, fondos de pensións institucionais, incorporadoras, family offices, etc., do Brasil están ollando tamén con moito cariño para as oportunidades no sector de hospitality. Onte me asistí a un dos panéis e a pergunta do moderador foi se vocês tiveran 100 millóns de dólares, onde que vocês investirían? E a nosa resposta é: a gente já teve 100 millóns de dólares e já investiu no Brasil. E faríamos unha vez e 100 veces. A gente acredita, ten fe absoluta que o Brasil, o noso investimento en Maricá, no Río de Janeiro, no Brasil, vai ofrecer importantes satisfaccións para os nosos investidores e para os nosos stakeholders, principalmente a população. Muito obrigado.
Awesome. And we need to understand that investing in biodiversity, it creates resiliency, as we said, as Paula mentioned it before, and it protects the assets, most importantly, for the future, prepares it for the future. So it's a great way to invest, right? So, Luca, I would like to bring you in here because we know that investors are being attracted by this nature-based hospitality that goes beyond the traditional ROI model. So how do you position luxury frontiers projects as compelling investment opportunities, and what financial and operational advantages does a regenerative approach offer over a conventional model?
How long do we have? That is a big question. It's interesting. I liked yesterday when Peter Greenberg said the return of ROE, and he mentioned, beside the equity, but of course we need is the return of emotions and the return on experiences.
And more so return of purpose, right? We need to...
It's not E, but it's okay. E-purpose. I mean, I look at projects in a very... I love that I mentioned before, high the low impact, high touches. And low is less is bad, less is more. And be respectful of the land is probably, in the long term, is with the highest return for human capital, for the land, and for... However, the project needs to be financially sustainable. That's the number one, and the last is the main point, is the project has to be sustainable, otherwise in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, 10 years, when the subsidies by the local by the investor and the project will die. It doesn't matter if it has a purpose or has a strong impact on the environment or with the community. So that's number one. Ability focusing on high, low impact, high touches allows to create something that is not invasive, is a respect for the land. We don't own the land owns us. That's the type of approach that we always have. And then embrace, make something highly contextual, and build a story. Build a story that is ongoing, sustainable with the local community. How can...
In operational advantages?
Working with the community allows if they are really embedded in the operation with the local community, with the local labor, happy and taking care of the local labor. 95-98% should be local, and that's the way to empower them, train them, make them part of the team, make them to grow from housekeeper or to go to become a GM, and give them an opportunity to grow, and with a long-term retention plan. There are amazing projects. Just come back from Singita in Africa, where there are all the labor is for 20-25 years old in the company, and that has been a generational employment in the company, and happy staff, happy guests, and so it's that helps a lot as well.
Wonderful. So now let's talk about adaptability, because we know regeneration is not episodic. It continuously evolves and adapts. So Marco, let's talk about how master planning and landscape architecture can leverage to enhance climate resilience and design hospitality destinations that are adaptive, future-ready, and capable of evolving over time while maintaining their environmental, social, and economic integrity. Most important.
Yeah, it's an amazing question, and it's something that I think that we as planners and architects and developers, I think we need to figure out a way of providing a legacy of how to do a project in the right way. And I think we have the experience to do it, and we have the knowledge with new technology to do it. It's very important, like I said before, to understand the site, the culture of the region, and the people. But how do you utilize those components to make a project that is viable, great design work, but economically viable? Because developers always look at numbers. We look at thinking and visioning and design thinking. So we've done a project recently now in Salvador, which is a region that is beginning to evolve because of the local climate and new president there, new leadership. And we wanted to do, by taking all this information that we learned over the years, in the last, EDSA has been in life 65 years. I've been there 37. Of course, I started when I was 10. Mm-hmm. So what happens there is that we went back in the history on Google Earth and another means of technology by looking at that specific site, because it's going to be the first development project in the region, oceanfront. And the government wants to create this project to be, essentially put Salvador in the World Tourism map. So we looked at the site in a way that, from 1940s to 60s, the land was completely green and beautiful. Mm. And over the years was destroyed because of different planning and planting things, and then farmland came in and destroyed the whole vegetation. And then the owners purchased the land, and nothing happened in El Salvador because there was no development. And all of a sudden, they wanted to develop, so we went back and looked at the terrain, and then the vegetation grew back again.
Of course.
So Mother Nature really plays games with us, and I think if we use Mother Nature to our advantage, it helps us create a project that is unique. So we looked at that, and what we did is a master plan in which we kept the natural vegetation that stayed, and that came back. And now we're creating a project of regeneration, not only by planting natural existing vegetation, local vegetation, doing an nursery on site, but also looking at the culture of what it was there before. We kept a portion of that farmhouse to create a rural development. So you drive through this beautiful forest, you go through a farmland, and then we're bringing in the local indigenous people and people who live in the area by providing a concept in which we are allowing them to be part of the development by teaching learning centers into their little villages, painting their homes like they do here in Brazil, which is amazing, and then putting the streets and allowing them to learn. And they are going to be the ones working on the master plan, on the hotels, on the development and the construction, and even maybe masseuse that come from there. So if you are smart in thinking about how to take all these elements, you can create a project that is very special, very unique, very local, and also very sustainable, but yet economically viable, because at the end of the day, what the end user is looking for, and I know that's kind of the next question, but the end user is looking for new destinations. We're in the hospitality industry, and after the pandemic, people wanted to be with family, going back to a community, with friends and family. So how do we create a project that makes you feel good, creating curated experiences that are going to allow you to feel great, but also learn about the culture, the place, the site, and that's what people are looking for today. So it's not only about an incredible design with great furniture and concrete floors or stone floors or bathrooms that are amazing. It's the holistic experience of being immersed into a culture, into a region. And that's something that we can do very well and be sustainable at the same time. And then making a lot of money, because all the projects are now getting into $1,000 to $5,000 a night because they have this concept, this idea. And at the end of the day, you don't spend a lot of money because you can source local materials, you can do local landscape, and prices are lower to build there, and yet you have a great project, and then it becomes amazing. So it's a good story to tell. So
I love it, especially because regeneration also involves the human, as you just mentioned before. After the pandemic, there has been this shift in consciousness, right? And when we create wellness experiential programming in the projects, we create this transformative, long-lasting changes that people can take beyond the state. So I think that's important to understand. Also, regeneration comes within in our personal way as well. So let's continue with people. Let's talking about human, but also with a financial twist on it. And Emilio, in Marahe, you've been pioneer, like this new standard for hospitality development, ensuring long-term community participation and ecological restoration. So what are the key strategies that have allowed Marahe to balance the financial viability with true regenerative impact?
Bom, eu vou pegar um gancho de dois comentários dos meus colegas para responder essa pergunta. O primeiro, menos é mais. E o segundo, 20 anos atrás, nenhum developer, os developers estavam pensando em como arrasar os manglares para construir ainda mais. O que a gente fez, back in time, foi desenhar um projeto que não era apenas sustentável, era regenerativo. Um projeto que ocupa apenas 6,6% do total da área, que, como eu falei antes, regenera mais de 120 hectares, que constitui a segunda maior reserva privada de património natural do Estado, do Rio de Janeiro, e a quinta do Brasil. E esses foram os pilares fundacionais do nosso projeto, o respeito ambiental e a inclusão das comunidades de pescadores, ao contrário do que foi feito ou tentou ser feito por os proprietários dessa área durante décadas, que queriam construir marinhas, que queriam construir ilhas artificiais, que queriam ocupar mais de 60% da área. Então, eu estou absolutamente alinhado com menos e mais, e nós, como developers, temos a responsabilidade de não só proteger, mas aprimorar o meio ambiente. Como balançamos isso, equilibramos, equacionamos esse respeito ambiental e responsabilidade social com a necessária rentabilidade ou retorno financeiro para os nossos sócios. São absolutamente irmãos. A gente conseguiu, vou externar aqui para todos, nós somos duas famílias espanholas, da Espanha, trabalhando nesse projeto há mais de 15 anos, mas a gente pegou capital, investidores pequenos da Espanha, da China, do Brasil e dos Estados Unidos. E não acreditam apenas num business plan, números, o apoio institucional, as parcerias, as competências do time. Não são esses são apenas os fundamentais pelos quais os investidores apostam e acreditam numa oportunidade. Precisam desses valores e dessas motivações transcendentais de, no nosso caso, fazerem parte de um projeto legado, de um projeto que vai trazer esse desenvolvimento econômico à perpetuidade, essa preservação ambiental à perpetuidade e essa inclusão e responsabilidade social à perpetuidade. Então, a resposta é simples. Se você não tem esses compromissos ambientais e sociais e o necessário desenvolvimento econômico, você não vai trazer viabilidade financeira e rentabilidade para os sócios.
Correcto.
We're running out of time, but I think there's...
We
Can
need
we
more
do
time.
one more? Because I think we need to continue with the guest experience. And Luca, in hospitality, you know, the luxury hospitality is evolving constantly, and we have these incredible opportunity to have the technology to us, the information. It's overstimulating us, but experiential hospitality is growing in both for, you know, to create meaningful experiences. And how does experiential hospitality redefine the luxury travel experience by ensuring that high-end stays contribute to the regeneration of nature and culture rather than existing apart from them?
You give some meaningful experience to the guests. It's about building the project legacy as well. We didn't talk about legacy today, and have a long-term impact on the environment and on community. That's probably your legacy as a family and as a project. That's what you wanted to give, and so give a long-term memories, long and lasting memories to the guests, and that is the best way to loyalize your guests, repeat your visits, and that goes straight again on the return of investment, because you have a long-term legacy and long-term investment, higher return on investment.
There's so much that we can talk about this topic, and I know time's up, but I brought 3 ways, easy ways, to start your regenerative journey from the Regenerative Travel Organization. And the first one is determining your value to your community so that you can start creating practices and initiatives. The second one is understanding your supply chain so you know where you can create impact. And the third one that we just talked about is inspire transformation through the guest experience. Please give these wonderful change makers a round of applause. And thank you.